Hi guys! In today's video, we are going to be talking about foundation application. So we are just going to dive right into that topic today and get started. The way I see it, there are three methods of applying your foundation. The first one is pretty obvious, fingers. This is a very common way to apply your foundation and it works just fine. I'm not saying there's anything wrong applying your foundation with your fingers. You're just not going to get as even or as airbrushed of coverage as you could with some of the other methods we're going to talk about today. Option number 2 is a makeup sponge. I'm sure that most of you have seen these in the makeup aisles as you're walking by. You see these beauty sponges. When I first picked up a beauty sponge, I had no idea what I was doing, and I just started gobbing my foundation on with this dry sponge. After doing a little research, I found out that you are actually supposed to wet the sponge. This changed my world. At this point, this method of application is my favorite just because it adds a little bit more moisture to your foundation and to that application. I feel like it just kind of locks in a little bit more moisture into your face as you're applying your foundation. And everything just goes on so much smoother. It ends up looking so even, and in my opinion, it feels more comfortable. So I do have a couple of recommendations of beauty sponges from the drugstore. I do apologize ahead of time. All of my sponges have been so well loved and so well used that they are stained, and so they don't look beautiful and perfect. Mine are real, guys. Let's get real. I use these every day. So the first choice from the drugstore is this one right here from Real Techniques. This one runs about $5. It has a little tip here on the top, and then it has this flat edge. This is dry, by the way, so what you would do is run it under a faucet and just squeeze it until it gets as big as it's going to get, which is maybe 1.5 times the size that it is here. I really love this sponge because of this point at the top. You can get right up under here or around your nose when you're blending your foundation. And then oftentimes I use this flat side. When I'm setting my concealer, I'll dip this into the powder that I'm gonna set it with and go flat against like this. So there are some nice different angles and options with this sponge that I really appreciate. The second option is this one right here. This one is by EcoTools. This is another great option. It has a nice rounded end here, and then a longer flat side and a shorter flat side, and then the very top is kind of flattened off like this, as you can see. This is another option that is very affordable. Again, you would start by wetting this sponge. Then I like to use the round end to apply the foundation to my face, and then I turn it for this side to do my concealer, settings around my nose, that type of thing. And my third and final option from the drugstore is this one right here from Flower Beauty. It's a purple sponge, and this one is obviously quite a different shape than the other two. This one is also squishier. If I just show you here the comparison, you can see how much denser this green sponge is than the Flower Beauty one. Is just a lot more squishy. Same with the Real Techniques. I would say this one is in the middle. It's kind of between this one and this one. I like how squishy this one is. It has this nice big application area to like really pack in my foundation. It has a little bit of a flat side here that gets up nicely right under the eye, wherever you need to get detailed. That is a beautiful one as well. But if you like more of a point on your sponge like this, then I would go for either the Real Techniques or EcoTools. All right, moving on now to the third method of application. You guys all know where this is going, obviously a brush. Now, my best recommendation for applying your foundation with a brush is to get a very densely packed flat top kabuki brush. This is what it looks like. You can see as I run my finger across there how densely packed those bristles are, and then it is completely flat and baby soft on top. This one is going to do the best job of keeping your product right up here on the tip of your brush and just pushing it into your face and not sucking it down into your brush the way that it would if your brush wasn't so densely packed. Using a brush is going to give you the fullest coverage application. So if you are somebody who is really looking for a full coverage, then use a brush and it's going to give you the best, fullest coverage and still leave your skin looking airbrushed and flawless. So what I'm going to do now is zoom you in, and on this half of my face, I'm going to use a beauty sponge, and on this half of my face, I am going to use the flat top kabuki, so that you can see kind of the difference between the finish that it leaves on both sides. I primed my face with my NYX Angel Veil and my Milani Blur Stick, which will help with the large pores in this area. All right, so I just went ahead and wet my sponge. I don't know if you can tell how much bigger that got, but it is now about twice the size that it was before. So it's damp. I wrung all the extra water out, so it's not dripping, but it is damp. This is going to add a little extra moisture into the foundation, and it leaves just the hint of a dewier finish. So I'm going to go in with my Milani Conceal and Perfect foundation in the shade Light Beige. Claim on here that this is a medium to full coverage, lightweight, oil-free formula, long wearing, water resistant, and sweat proof. So the way I like to do this is to pump a little foundation right onto the back of my hand, and then I'm just going to take my beauty sponge and dip that in there, and then we're going to start applying. I'm going to just go in and start bouncing that into my face. Making sure to blend that down my neck and all the way back to my ears. I'm going to take one more half a pump for my kabuki brush and dip that in. And at first I'm just kind of pressing that into the skin. I'm not swiping it along. I want that foundation to really get onto the skin. So I start by these little pressing motions and really stipple that onto the skin. Then I'm going to start just taking little circular brush strokes to really blend that in. Then of course down the neck. Alright, so this is the finished product. This is the sponge side. I do feel like it's just a hair less coverage, but almost not visibly noticeable. On this cheek, I normally have a pretty dark blue vein that runs down the side of my cheek, and I do feel like the brush did a really decent job of covering that up most of the way. Whereas on this side, you can still see through the foundation. A couple of my freckles and moles are just peeking through barely, but that vein is pretty much covered up. Now, if I just sit back here and look at my face, I don't feel like this side is remarkably more coverage than this side. However, looking at it closely, I can tell that this side does have a little bit more coverage. So if you have hyperpigmentation or acne or freckles that you are trying to cover up, then I'd say your best bet is the kabuki brush. All right, I am going to throw a little bit of extra makeup on my face and I will be right back to wrap this up. All right, guys, that wraps up this video. I hope that you found that helpful. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments down below. I'd be happy to help you out however I can. Go ahead and give this video a thumbs up if it was helpful to you. Remember to subscribe before you leave. Bye. Flat top kabuki. Flat top kabuki. I can't say that. Oh my gosh. Okay, gotta go. Bye.